My beloved child, listen carefully. Something is coming. A strange wind is stirring among the heavens, and I want you not to fear, for what is about to unfold does not come to destroy, but to refine. The spiritual atmosphere is shifting not to shake you with dread, but to prepare you for something far greater. Before you stands a flame not to burn, but to forge, not to punish, but to make you radiant. You are standing at the threshold of a great trial, and I need you to understand this is not disaster. This is the call to maturity. Everything around you will begin to move quickly. Emotions once buried will rise like waves. You will feel pulled, tested, stirred. There will be words that shake you and moments that ignite your heart. But do not let emotions lead, for emotions are wind, while my word is anchor. When the storm rises, those without an anchor will drift. But if you stand upon my word, though the winds swirl, you will remain still. For I have not trained you to avoid storms, but to stand within them. So I say, prepare yourself. A pressing moment is drawing near. It will come without warning. Like lightning striking the earth, you will be forced to react, to choose, to decide. But before you act, pause, breathe, close your eyes. Remember that you have a Father. Every test is a doorway to step closer to me, or further away. If you let emotion lead, you will lose your way. But if you let me lead, you will overcome. This is not a test to measure your strength. It is my way of teaching you to trust even when your heart trembles. Remember, emotion is not sin, but it must not rule. It is a wave, and I am the ocean. When you let the wave decide your course, you drift. But when you anchor yourself in the ocean, every wave becomes the rhythm that carries you forward. Do not fear your feelings, give them to me. When you are angry, tell me. When you weep, weep in my arms. When you want to run, stop and ask, Father, where are you in this? That question will open the door to peace. Do not let the world teach you how to react. The world says, protect yourself. But I say, let me protect you. The world says, answer back. But I say, be still, and I will fight for you. The world says, prove yourself. But I say, stand in me, for I am your proof. I do not need you to win in the eyes of men. I need you to stand firm in the eyes of heaven. Every emotional battle has one escape prayer. When you pray, your soul regains its balance. When you pray, you are no longer led by reaction, but guided by spirit. And there, in that place, no one can touch you. You may hear noise, see chaos, and feel as though everything is falling apart. But know this chaos is only the beginning of a new order. When I shake old foundations, it is because I am establishing new ones. When I allow the fire to come, it is not to burn, but to separate the pure from the false. Fire does not harm gold, it only melts away the dross. And you, my golden one, are being refined. Do not run from the fire, stand in it with me. When you can stay in the fire and remain at peace, that is the sign that you have overcome. You will feel things shifting, relationships, work, plans. Some people will leave. Some things will end. Some doors will close. But do not be afraid. I am aligning all things. I am removing you from what no longer carries the scent of heaven and setting you in the frequency of destiny. When you are pulled out of the old, do not resist. Do not cling. Say, Father, I am ready. For what you lose in tears, I will return in glory. There are lessons I cannot teach through calm, only through collision. Some truths cannot be written, only engraved. And I engrave not with iron, but with fire. You think I am silent when you are in pain, but I am whispering. I am teaching you how to feel without falling apart, how to ache without breaking, how to see and still believe. This is how I train the warriors of my kingdom. You were not chosen to be fragile, you were chosen to stand. Each trial is not punishment, it is a call for the strength within you to awaken. Keep your heart pure. When emotion rises, do not respond in the flesh. Stand, pray, be still. That stillness is not weakness, it is strength. When the world shouts, your silence will thunder in the spirit realm. For when you choose stillness in obedience, I will speak for you. When you choose faith over fear, I will act for you. When you choose peace over panic, heaven itself will move to defend you. My child, this is the moment of transition. A new season is unfolding, and only those who stand firm in me will cross over. See with spiritual eyes, not emotional ones. Do not measure what I do by comfort, but by depth. The nearer the glory, the hotter the fire. But remember, the fire is also me. I am the flame that burns but does not consume, the light that shines but does not blind. And in this fire, you will be refined to look more like me. Prepare not through plans, but through stillness. Lay aside the words of men and listen for the voice of heaven. When I speak, you will know. When I act, you will see. When I open, none can shut. And when I lead you through the fire, you will come out without the scent of smoke. You will look back and understand this trial did not come to break you, but to raise you, not to take away, but to renew, not to frighten you, but to teach you how to trust in the midst of fear. Now, my child, I speak through the breath of the wind. Do not fear what is coming. Fear only missing me in the midst of the wave. For this wave does not come to drown you, but to carry you toward the shore of destiny. Step forward. Even when the wind is strong, believe. Even when your eyes see nothing, hold fast to my word. For my word is the rope that will pull you through the fire. I am in the midst of that fire, not standing outside it, but within it. And when you hold my hand, nothing can consume you. For this trial is not a sign of ending. It is an invitation to enter the season of maturity, of strength, and of what I call your new destiny. This is the time when I teach you what every spiritual warrior must learn: discernment. Not everything you see comes from me, and not everything that appears bright is true light. There is a false light that comes to dazzle and confuse, a light that carries no breath of the Spirit, only the echo of temptation. It glitters, but it is cold. It promises, but it is empty. I need you to learn to distinguish between what comes from me and what comes to steal you away from me. For in this time, the boundary between light and shadow grows thin, and only those who dwell in my presence can perceive it. The enemy does not always come with a roar, he comes with a whisper. He does not knock, he borrows your own emotions to walk through the door. He speaks the language of reason, but never carries the sound of peace. And peace can never be imitated, it is the mark of my voice. Anything that leaves your heart in confusion, no matter how logical, is not from me. Anything that pushes you to react, defend, or prove, stop there. My Spirit never drives you through fear. I always move in stillness. The enemy works through pressure. I work through peace. Remember, Satan does not destroy with swords. He wears down faith with ambiguity. He does not throw you into the pit. He only leads you a few steps away from the light, until darkness slowly swallows you. He knows you love truth, so he rarely uses outright lies. Instead, he blends truth and falsehood until you struggle to tell them apart. That is why you must live in the Word. The Word is the double-edged sword that divides soul from spirit, false from true, shadow from light. When you read my Word, it is not only your eyes that are illuminated, but your heart that is searched. Everything not vibrating with the frequency of truth will reveal itself. I want you to learn to hear my voice among the multitude of voices. My voice is never loud, but it carries weight. It does not demand or rush, but it stirs the heart with peace. When I speak, time pauses. When I arrive, your breath deepens. When I touch, chaos grows still. The voice of darkness, however, is always urgent. It insists you must act now, that you must fear losing, that you must prove yourself. Learn to discern, for even one decision made from emotion can pull you away from the path I have ordained. In the coming days, doors will open before you, some mine, some imitations. My doors shine with gentle light. The enemy's doors dazzle with haste. When you stand between two, do not look with your eyes, look with your peace. If you must strive to obtain it, it is not from me. If you must lose yourself to gain it, it is not from me. What comes from me will never require you to fake peace. It brings peace that is real. I also want you to recognize the winds of emotion that will rise. Emotion is a double-edged sword. It can be an instrument of the Spirit or a weapon of darkness. When you surrender your emotions under my Spirit, they become creative energy, guiding you deeper into my presence. But when emotion leads, it becomes the wave that pulls you away. I do not ask you to kill your feelings. I teach you to lay them beneath the cross. For emotion is redeemed when it learns to bow. Child, this world is layered with many voices, the voice of the flesh, the voice of the soul, and the voice of the Spirit. The voice of the flesh shouts, the voice of the soul trembles, and the voice of the Spirit whispers. The wise do not chase the loud sound. They grow quiet to hear the soft one. When I speak, it is a sound not from without, but from within, a flash of light in the center of the night. It does not push you outward. It draws you home. It does not stir confusion. It anchors. It does not frighten. It brings you to your knees. Keep your heart pure, for only the pure in heart can catch heaven's frequency. Remember, discernment is not merely for avoiding danger. It is for recognizing me among the multitude. Sometimes I come disguised in the person you did not expect, in the situation you wished away, in the trial you tried to escape. If you look only with your eyes, you will miss me in what you call wrong. But if you look with the Spirit, you will see that I am working even in the place that hurts. For grace does not always come through warm hands. It also comes through fire. I need you awake. Awakening is not fear, it is awareness. It is not tension, it is clarity. The awakened are not deceived by appearances, for they recognize essence. They see through words, looks, and circumstances, perceiving the flow beneath them. When you reach that place, nothing can shake you, for you are anchored in heaven's reality, no longer tossed by the waves of earth. Learn to live as a gatekeeper, eyes watchful, heart listening, Spirit discerning. Not every knock deserves an open door. Let me teach you when to speak and when to be silent, when to go and when to stand still. The enemy does not fear the strong, he fears the one who listens. For the one who hears me cannot be manipulated, but the one who acts without listening, though their intentions seem good, easily becomes a tool of darkness. My beloved child, I am training you in a new strategy, the strategy of stillness. When the world reacts, you observe. When others fear, you pray. When the wind blows, you listen not to the noise, but to its direction. You will see that while others run, you will stand while others panic. You will rest while others lose. You will remain steadfast. That is true power, the kind that comes not from grasping, but from releasing, not from shouting, but from silence, not from fear, but from faith. This is the hour of distinction. Light and darkness are no longer far apart, they now intertwine in every thought. Let my word be the lamp within your mind. Whatever does not root in love or end in peace, set it aside. Whatever makes you heavy, proud, or divided, return it to the shadows, for you belong to light. And light does not negotiate with darkness. I am placing in your hand the sword of discernment, not to strike others, but to cut the knots within yourself. Every time you choose love over anger, you have struck. Every time you choose silence over proving, you have won. Every time you choose prayer over reaction, you pierce the heart of darkness. From here, you will learn to overcome not by might, but by light. For darkness does not fear your voice, it fears your glow. And that glow is me within you. My child, I know your heart has grown weary after long days of strain and sudden storms. I see every subtle trembling in your spirit. Every moment you try to hold peace amid waves that will not cease. But hear me, your trials are not your enemies. They are teachers I have sent. They are hands of love, not to break you, but to refine you. Every flame that touches you burns within limits set by my mercy. You often ask me for blessing, for glory, for smooth paths. Yet true blessing does not grow in calm soil, it is born in the furnace of faith. For you, O God, have tested us. You have refined us as silver is refined. Psalm 6:6-10. No fire may reach you unless I permit it. No wind may shake you unless I decree it. I do not send fire to destroy, but to divide, to separate from you the false, the old habits, the needless fears. I want you light enough to fly, yet you still try to carry what I asked you to lay down. I have heard the sighs you hide at night, the questions you cannot say aloud. Father, why must I go through this, my child? Because I love you. Because I see within you what you cannot yet see. There are seeds of power asleep in your soul, and only the fire of trial can awaken them. As the soil only opens when plowed, so the soul only opens when stirred. I do not steer you to destroy, I steer you to bring forth life. You will understand when light begins to shine through your wounds. Everything I allow serves purification. Trials do not change who you are, they reveal who you truly are. They add nothing to you, they only burn away what does not belong. At times you think yourself weak, yet when the flame comes, you discover my strength within. At times you think you are ready, but when the fire touches you, you see there are corners not yet surrendered. Do not fear that realization, for it is only when you see your weakness that grace finds room to enter. I know there are days you wish to run to return to what was, to feel normal, to be still. But normal cannot form a bearer of fire. I did not call you to blend in, I called you to shine, and those who carry light must be heated until all impurity is gone. I love you too much to leave you half-formed. I love you too deeply not to train you. Every pain you feel is proof that I am reshaping you in heaven's image. Look back on the times you fell, the moments you thought you would not rise and yet you did, not because you were strong, but because I upheld you, not because you were unbreakable, but because I was faithful. Let your trials become memorials of grace, not monuments of fear. For in every moment you thought you were losing, I was rewriting your story. There is not a single chapter in your life where I was absent. And if you look closely, you will see on every line of every tear, my fingerprints remain. I do not want you to run from pain, for to run from pain is to run from growth. But neither do I want you to stay in it. I want you to pass through it. Only in passing through do you see that the fire has no power, only the light remains. When you stand within the fire and still choose faith, you become like your Father. When you choose forgiveness amid pain, you reveal the courage heaven planted within you. When you rise, though strength has left you, I will supply my own. For faith is not feeling strong, it is standing when you feel nothing. Remember, refinement is not a single day's event. It happens in every moment you choose to stay. Every time you refuse to let emotion define you, you are being shaped. Every time you pray instead of resent, you are being built. Every time you whisper, yes, Father, through tears, heaven opens. And from that moment, you are being lifted into a new realm, not of human striving, but of those who have learned to listen and to trust even in suffering. My child, trials are the tools of my love. They carry no purpose except to make you steadfast. I do not need you to be perfect. I want you to be true. I do not need you strong at every moment. I only need you to return to me whenever you are weak. I do not need you to know every path. I only need you to know me. And when you know me, every path leads home. Let your tears become the water that cleanses your eyes, so you may see more clearly. Let the fire turn fear into strength, pain into wisdom, loss into testimony. You are not being judged in the trial, you are being loved in refinement. For the fire does not destroy you, it frees you. And when you emerge from it, you will not be the same, you will shine brighter, stand deeper, and live freer. Be at peace in knowing that no trial lies outside the design of the Father's love. This fire is proof that you are precious enough to be refined. I will not let the fire last a second longer than necessary. And when it subsides, you will find yourself clothed in the light of maturity, where you no longer tremble before the waves, are no longer swayed by words, nor afraid of the night. Only faith will remain firm, and your gaze calm. Now I speak to you with the voice of dawn. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:4-7. You belong to me not only when you stand victorious, but even when you are still learning to stand. Not only when you shine, but also when you are dim. For my love does not change, and that very love is turning every one of your trials into a song of triumph, not loud in the air, but resounding deep in the soul of one who knows the Father is here and will never depart. My child, after the fire cools and the winds grow quiet, I want you to sit and listen carefully, for this is the hour of growth. Not everyone who passes through fire becomes gold, only those who let the fire teach them truly shine. The trial you just endured did not come to crush you, but to teach you how to walk in peace amid shaking, how to love without being ruled by emotion, how to discern without the need to argue. You are being called to rise from the shallow levels of the soul, where emotion once ruled, into the deeper realm of the spirit, where peace reigns as king. I do not want you to be without feeling. I want you to be one whose feelings no longer lead. Emotion is a part of what I made so you may feel, but not what I meant for you to follow. When you live by emotion, you will always sway, but when you live by discernment, you will stand firm amid all change. Discernment does not come from fear of being wrong, it comes from nearness to the Father. When you know me, you no longer guess. You sense my breath in every circumstance and can tell it apart from the echo of the flesh. Spiritual maturity is not measured by how much one knows, but by how little one reacts. You do not need to answer everything, for not every voice deserves a reply. Sometimes silence is the most beautiful answer to all noise. I want you to learn to be silent not out of fear, but out of understanding. The weak are silent because they fear. The mature are silent because they know. When you are quiet, in peace, you are not surrendering, you are allowing me to speak for you. And when I speak, confusion dissolves. You have lived through seasons when you thought you understood me, yet you had only touched the edge of my will. Now I invite you deeper to the realm where faith no longer relies on feeling, but on awareness. There will be days when you feel nothing, but that does not mean I am absent. When you no longer need to feel in order to believe, that is when you truly believe. For faith needs no proof, it only needs roots. And you, after all, have been planted deeper into me. I want you to reflect on how you respond to life. Every time you let anger lead, you lose peace. Every time you let fear teach, you lose my voice. Every time you let emotion define others, you lose the chance to see them through the Father's eyes. Maturity is pausing before you speak, breathing before you react, praying before you conclude not to be right, but to be loving. You will never discern rightly without love. True discernment is born of kindness. It cuts not to wound, but to separate truth from noise. It judges no one, but brings light. When I teach you to discern, it is not to find fault in others, but to keep your heart pure. Darkness cannot touch one who walks in the light of discernment. For when you see clearly, you will no longer respond from instinct. You will know when to be silent, when to speak, and how to love even before you understand. The mature do not demand understanding in the moment. They learn to trust that some things are revealed only after obedience. When I say, step forward, you need not know the destination, only whose hand holds yours. Your peace does not come from circumstance, but from communion. When you are truly in the Father, outer changes become as mere ripples on a deep river. They may touch the surface but cannot cloud the depths. Remember, maturity does not mean you no longer cry, it means you know where to cry. To weep before me is strength, to weep before men is weakness. Let your tears be the language of prayer, not the weapon of pain. When you offer your emotions instead of being led by them, you have already overcome. Each time you choose to forgive faster, love longer, and listen deeper, it is the sign that you are growing in my spirit. Learn to live by the slow rhythm of heaven. The world will urge you hurry. Speak first. Decide quickly. But heaven does not move by speed, it moves by depth. Slow down to see. Slow down to hear. Slow down to feel me in every detail. You will find that when you are no longer driven by must, you will begin to be led by grace. And when grace leads you, everything is on time. The mature do not need control, for they know the Father is in control. They do not need to win, for they know the Father has already won. They do not need to protect their name, for they know the Father is their name. And you, too, you do not need to be understood, only to keep your heart right. For I will defend what is right, and I will protect what is true. You need only remain still in the place of the chosen, not the place of power, but the place of trust. Now, my child, stand up as one who has been taught. Do not carry with you the immaturity of yesterday. Carry the light of understanding and the tenderness of mercy. When strong emotions arise, smile and remember that you have been trained not to be swept away. When someone wounds you, be still and say, Father, I place this in your hands. When your heart feels tangled, breathe and whisper, you are still here. Each time you do this, heaven records it, for this is the mark of true maturity. Not in what you can accomplish, but in knowing when to stop so that I may act. Remember, my child, maturity is not a summit, it is a journey that never departs from love. The more you grow, the more you see how small you are before grace. The more you understand, the more you realize how deeply you need your Father. And that is the sign of spiritual ripeness, when you no longer seek to be ruler over your emotions, but to be a child in the Father's embrace. Now I look upon you with the gaze of a father who beholds a child who has been taught. You have passed through fire, through water, through the night, and now you stand in the light. Not the blinding light of noisy victory, but the gentle light of a peaceful soul. Walk in this calmness, for this is the true reward, peace that does not come after the battle, but peace that remains within it. And you have learned this. My beloved, I bless you now with understanding, with serenity, with eyes no longer pulled by emotion. From this day forward, you will live as one, refined, steady, unhurried, unshaken. You will love without fear, believe without doubt, and walk without hesitation. For you have learned the greatest lesson of all: your emotions do not define you, I do. And in that definition, you have truly matured. My child, now I want you to sit with me, not to hear more instruction, but to let your soul absorb. All that I have spoken before was not just sound, it was water. And water needs time to seep deep into the soil. You have walked through the seasons of storm, of testing, of fire, of separation. Now is the season of soaking, of resting, of taking root. In this season, there is no thunder, no strong wind, only the steady breath of my spirit flowing through your every heartbeat. I do not need you to try to understand more. I need you to let my word become your rhythm. Breathe deeply, my child, for you are in my arms. You do not need to search far, nor plead for my presence. I am already here. In the quiet space between two breaths, in the shimmer of light upon your hand, the world tells you that to be near me you must climb high, achieve much, fight hard, but I tell you to draw near to me. You need only to sit down, lay down your sword, and open your heart. Nearness is not distance, it is awareness. And when you know that I am here, you are closer than you have ever been. Do you remember those times you asked, "Why is everything happening at once?" Father, I remember. I was right there in your sighs. In those mornings when you opened your eyes, not ready to begin. I was never far when you were weak. I was nearest then. I do not need you to be strong to come near me. I need you to be real. True strength is not born of resistance, but of surrender to the one who never leaves. When you stop fighting your fears and begin to face them with me, that is when you discover the power of peace. Every trial you have endured, whether understood or not, has been a lesson in trust. I have used each circumstance to shape your heart, to slow your pace, to widen your sight, to deepen your love. Sometimes I led you into paths with no visible exit, just so you would learn that the true way out is not in the situation, but in me. Sometimes I allowed a door to stay closed longer than you wished, just so you would learn that patience is not waiting until you have, but believing even when you have not yet seen. And each time you chose faith instead of resentment, heaven opened another layer within your soul. You do not need to understand everything to live in peace. Peace does not come from answers, but from knowing there is a Father. When you know me, you no longer need to know everything else. I am the answer to what cannot be understood. And if you can believe that I am good, even when things are not yet good, then you have already overcome. For true faith is not believing when you see, but knowing I remain good when you see nothing at all. There will be moments when you feel alone on this journey, when others do not understand what I am doing within you. But do not grieve, my child. That solitude is not punishment, it is invitation. I lead you into moments without people, so that you may hear me clearly. For when the sounds of the world fade, you begin to hear the rhythm of heaven. Do not fear the silence. Silence is the space where I speak. Do not fear the emptiness. Emptiness is the place where I touch. My beloved child, I have placed within you a rare gift, the gift of deep sensitivity, but it is that very gift that makes you easily wounded, easily moved, easily shaken. I know, and that is why I am teaching you discernment so that your emotions do not become a snare. Emotion itself is not evil, it simply needs to be purified. When you allow me to wash your emotions in the stream of my spirit, they will no longer drag you downward, but become a channel through which I flow. You will begin to see that the very sensitivity you once mistook for weakness is the instrument I use to heal others. For only those who have shed true tears know how to wipe away another's tears with true gentleness. When I tell you to rise above immature emotion, I do not mean for you to grow cold. I mean for you to grow deep. There is a difference between losing feeling and having feeling governed by the Spirit. The one who loses feeling no longer sees. The one who is governed still feels, but is not consumed. You are learning this. Every time you choose forgiveness, you are proving that emotion no longer rules you. Every time you choose faith instead of fear, you are revealing true strength. And every time you choose prayer over argument, you are walking in spiritual maturity. My peace is not the silence of still waters, but the calm that holds steady even as waves rise. It does not promise that storms will cease. It promises that you will not sink. When your heart feels tangled, remember I am still there. Peace is not the prize after endurance, it is the power that carries you through. Hold it as a lantern in the night. Let it light your steps not far ahead. But enough, for I did not promise you a map, I promised you light. And that light shines only for the next step. There are things you are praying for that I have not yet answered, not because I do not hear, but because I am preparing your heart to receive. A blessing that comes too early becomes a burden, so I delay. Not out of neglect, but out of love. I know the perfect rhythm for your soul. Let me set the pace. When you learn to trust that my timing is never wrong, you will see that every delay is only the shell of a blessing waiting to bloom. And when it breaks open, everything will be on time, not a minute early, not a second late. You are still being transformed, little by little, even in the moments that seem repetitive. I know you long to move faster, but my child, I am an artisan, not a manufacturer. I carve every detail, smooth every edge, stitch every thread, for you were not made to resemble anyone else. You were made to reflect me uniquely, and that takes time. Let me work in silence. When you feel nothing, I am still refining. When you think you are stuck, I am still painting. When you believe I am quiet, I am touching deeply. Do not fear repeating lessons, for each repetition brings a new depth. Every cycle is a spiral upward. I do not let you face the same test to torment you, but to complete what was unfinished. Look closely, and you will see this time you are calmer, lighter, wiser, and that is the sign that you are growing in me. Let your heart become like a garden after the rain. I am sowing spiritual seeds in it, seeds of patience, of trust, of gratitude, of unconditional love. Each one needs time to grow, and the rain of your tears is the richest watering they could have. Do not despise your tears, for in my kingdom, Tears are the fertilizer of blessing. From the place you wept, flowers you never expected will bloom. For now, just be still. You do not need to prove your strength. You do not need to strain to get through. You only need to let me do the work. I do not need you to replace my hand. I need you near my heart. Every great miracle begins with a small presence. When you are still, I act. When you strive, I wait. When you release, I move. And when you know that my presence alone is enough, you have stepped into the sacred realm. Few ever touch the realm of rest in motion, of trust in silence, of victory in peace. This, my child, is the season when I do not want you to run, but to sit, not to speak, but to listen, not to understand more, but to abide deeper. Everything you seek is not outside, it is within, and within is where I dwell. When you return inward, you will find me waiting not with lightning or thunder, but with kind eyes and open hands. And you will understand all that you have walked through was merely a path leading here to the place where you know you belong, where fear ceases, and where peace is no longer something you try to hold, but something you are. Now, I want to take you deeper, not through words, but through presence. For the deepest truths are not taught by language, but by companionship. Sit still, and let your breath merge with mine. No more sermons, no more explanations, only a quiet current flowing through your heart. In that current, the heaviness will begin to dissolve. Like morning mist before the sun, I am softening the memories, the reflexes, the nameless fears. They once made you think you were weak, but in truth they are signs of a sensitive soul learning to be strong in grace. I do not mend you with pressure, I heal you with love. My love is not loud, not harsh, not demanding change at once. It is like a hidden stream flowing around the hard stones within you, wearing away defense, doubt, and closure. I do not cut with blades, I cleanse with flow. Some things you have tried to cast off and failed, do not force them. Let me wash them, for there are wounds that fade only when soaked in mercy. I know, my child. There have been times when you reacted before you prayed, when you spoke too quickly, shielded yourself, struck back, and later felt sorrow. But I do not accuse you. I only want you to see that every reaction is an opportunity to learn again how to live with discernment. Every wave of emotion is a heavenly lesson. When you feel the surge rising, pause and breathe. Breath is the bridge for me to step into your moment. Just one pause, one whisper of Father, is enough to summon heaven's help. This is how you train your heart to seek me before you speak, before you act, before you think. The world teaches you to react to survive. I teach you to respond to be restored. The world tells you to protect yourself. I tell you that you are already protected. No one can snatch you from my hand. So you need not fight for position or defense. When you are silent, I speak. When you yield, I fight. When you are misunderstood, I rewrite the story with the light of time. You do not need to defend yourself. You only need to let me be the wall around you. There are things, my child, that you think are out of control, but in truth, it is I who hold the wheel. When I see you about to stray, I allow situations that force you to pause. You call them troubles, I call them redirections. You see yourself being blocked, I see you being protected. You think you are being slowed, but I am making sure you do not wander into what was never meant for you. Sometimes I must let the wind blow against you to remind you to turn back. And when you do, you will find that I never left the shore. I am teaching you that maturity is not the absence of trial, but the ability to recognize me within every one of them. When you begin to see your Father's hand even in what opposes your will, that is when you have discovered the secret of the kingdom. Nothing is meaningless. Every disruption hides a miracle. Every loss carries a blessing. Every interruption holds loving intent. When you live with that vision, you will no longer panic when life changes direction. You will rest, knowing your Father holds the map. Let your heart become fluid like water. Water does not fight. It finds its way. When it meets rock, it does not rage, it flows around it. When it meets slope, it does not fear, it moves faster. And in the end, it always returns to the sea. So will you. No matter what path you take, you will always return to me. Every circle of your wandering is contained within the vast ocean of grace. Do not regret the turns, for they have taught you how to bend, and those who bend never break. I want you to understand that true discernment is not only knowing right from wrong, but knowing when to speak and when to be still, when to act and when to wait. Some things I place in your heart not for immediate doing, but for maturing, like seeds hidden in the soil. They need darkness before they sprout at the appointed time. If you try to pull the future out of the present, you will disrupt heaven's process. But if you trust me, you will see everything open at the very moment you are ready to hold it. Look back on your journey, and you will see a golden thread running through it all, the thread of my hand. When you laughed, I was there. When you wept, I was there. When you were silent, I was there still. Every time you thought you were lost, you were only being drawn deeper into my design of love. For grace never moves in straight lines, it moves in spirals, drawing your soul closer with each turn, brighter and freer every time. You do not need to understand every layer to be at peace. You only need to know that every layer rests safely within the heart of your Father. When you look around and see something breaking, close your eyes and ask, Father, what are you teaching me here? That question will change everything. It will turn crisis into classroom, pain into a doorway of grace, confusion into encounter. When you ask instead of fear, I will answer not with words, but with peace. And then you will realize that everything I do has rhythm. When you know that rhythm, you will not be pulled by the chaos. The world runs, but heaven moves in stillness. The world rushes, but I go deep. Choose to live by my rhythm, not the world's. You may not see glitter, but you will see truth. You may not hear noise, but you will see light. You may not find ease, but you will find endurance. For whatever is mine lasts. When I look at you now, I see a soul refined, no longer panicking when waves rise, no longer trembling when winds howl. You have learned to stand firm by faith, not by circumstance. You have learned to believe without reason, to love without guarantee, to pray when strength has gone. That is understanding not of the mind, but of the heart. You have moved from the stage of grasping to the stage of being held. And when you are held by the Father, nothing can take your peace again. Know this, your journey is not over, but you have passed the greatest threshold, the threshold of fear. The fear of loss, of failure, of loneliness, of not being enough. All those fears are leaving now, like shadows fading at dawn. You no longer need to fight to keep the light, for you have realized that you are the light. Light is not something you create, it is what you become when you stay near me. Now walk lightly without striving, without tightening, without carrying too much. Let every breath be a prayer, every step an act of trust, every glance a reflection of love. When you live this way, heaven and earth meet within you. And this, my child, is what I have desired from the beginning, not a perfect child, but one who abides in the Father. Be still, for you are exactly where I want you to be. Everything you are experiencing, however strange it may appear, is the rhythm of love I have composed for you. Ask no more. Doubt no more. Simply be and let me be. For in the moment you stop striving to become enough, you will hear me whisper you already are, and when you believe that, heaven opens. My beloved child, when your soul has grown calm after many rounds of wind and fire, I want you to know that this is no longer the season of reaction, but the season of awareness. It is no longer the time to wrestle with what is outside of you, but to step within into the stillness that is not escape, but power. In that place, every breath becomes a prayer, and every gaze a testimony that you are living in covenant. This season is no longer about you doing for the Father to see, but about you seeing what the Father is doing. It is not the time to prove yourself worthy, but to rest in the truth that you are already chosen. Listen carefully, my child. When I look at you, I do not see mistakes, delay, or lack. I see a child who is slowly learning what love truly is. True love does not come from achievement, but from presence. It is not what you do that makes me love you. It is because I love you that you are able to do good. Everything else is secondary. You have walked through the season of striving, and now I am teaching you to walk slowly, to love deeply, to live gratefully, for gratitude is the language of heaven, and those who are thankful always see blessings hidden within the ordinary. I know you have feared losing your balance, feared that if you stop trying, everything will fall apart. But, my child, this universe does not rest on your effort, it rests on my word. When I said, "Let there be light," there was light. When I said, "Be still," the sea grew calm. And when I said, "You are enough," you were enough. Nothing can add to or subtract from your true worth. I only want you to believe this, not in your mind, but in your heart. For when your heart believes that you are loved without condition, you will stop resisting and begin to live authentically. What you are learning in this season is the art of release. Release is not giving up, it is trusting. When you release, you are not losing control, you are returning control to the rightful hands of your Father. I know you once saw letting go as weakness, as retreat, as surrender. But in truth, only those who are strong in spirit have the courage to release. For release is the act of faith, the proof that you trust me more than you trust your fear. I am teaching you to live not by reaction, but by awareness. The world tells you to respond quickly to survive, but I teach you to listen in order to be led. You no longer need to choose right to live, you only need to stay in the right place. And the right place is always where peace remains. If a decision steals your peace, pause. If a relationship hardens your heart, pray. If an opportunity comes too fast and confuses you, do not grasp. Let peace decide, for peace never lies. It is my voice within you. Remember those moments when you acted out of fear of missing a chance. Each time, you felt weary, heavy, and filled with regret afterward. That was because you followed emotion, not me. But now, I am training you to move from stillness, not the stillness of fear, but the stillness of trust. When you step from peace, every right door opens on its own. When you are silent yet still believe, I work within that silence. And when I work, you will see no noise, no haste, only the knowing that I am God. Let me tell you this, my beloved, not every emotion deserves your faith. Some are merely echoes of memory, some the residue of the past, some a passing breeze. Do not let them define you. Feelings do not tell you who you are. My word does. When you learn to see emotions as clouds that drift coming and going while the sky remains, you will no longer be pulled by them. You will become the sky wide, still, and merciful. And when you no longer fear your emotions, you will finally be free. There will be days when you awaken without any great stirring in your heart. Do not think I am far. Sometimes I stay quiet so that you may learn to love the ordinary. For in the ordinary lies the sacred. In mornings without miracles, I am still performing miracles within you, the miracle of gratitude, the miracle of faith that needs no proof, the miracle of a soul growing in silence. When you learn to see me in small things, you will no longer need great signs to believe. I want you to live lightly. Do not let the past pull you back, nor the future push you forward. Be here, in this very moment, where your breath and mine meet. Everything else will align itself when you dwell in presence. You stand in the place of power, for true power does not come from what you do outwardly, but from the stability within. When your heart is still, no storm can capsize you. Remember, a boat does not sink because of the water around it, but because of the water that gets inside. Keep your heart dry, and you will always float, my child. You are becoming more like me each day, not by effort, but by essence. You no longer need to prove, to compete, or to strive for love. You are learning to live from love, not for love. And when you live from love, everything around you begins to change. Those who once frightened you will stir compassion in you. The words that once wounded will lose their sting. The memories that once made you cry will become witnesses of grace. Remember, you were not born to react to life, but to shine within it. Light does not react, it radiates. It does not struggle to be seen, it simply exists. And darkness cannot argue with light, it only retreats. Live this way, gentle, still, yet powerful. You do not need to shout to carry authority. You only need to rest in it. When you are still, I move. When you trust, heaven opens. When you remain, miracles unfold. Now I speak to you, not as to a child, but as to a companion. You have been refined, healed, taught, and now you are sent not to strive, but to shine. Wherever you go, bring peace. Whatever you speak, carry light. Wherever you stand, radiate love. You do not need to serve by effort, for your very presence is service. People will feel the Father through you, not because you speak much, but because you are deeply still. My child, remember this: you do not need to do great things. You only need to be real, for truth is the greatest power in this kingdom. The genuine heart always touches others not by reasoning, but by spirit, and your soul, after all this, has become clear as a mirror, gentle as water, steady as stone, and soft as breath. You have matured, not because you have learned much, but because you have learned one thing: to love without fear. Now I look at you and smile. You no longer run to hold everything together. You have learned to place everything in my hands. You no longer weep over what you do not understand. You have learned to ask and wait. You no longer panic when you cannot see the road. You have come to know that I am the road. And that, my child, is true freedom, not the freedom to do everything, but the freedom to rest within my will. Keep walking, but without hurry. Keep loving, but without demand. Keep praying, but without worry, for everything you need, I have already placed within you. And when the time is right, everything I have promised will bloom, not by your pulling, but by your believing. You will see. as dawn rises after the longest night, that everything which once made you cry has now become a song, and in that light, I will whisper once more, my child, you have learned to be still, and because of that, you have learned to overcome. My beloved, as the light of morning softly crosses the boundary of the old night, I want you to know this is no longer the season of striving, but the season of fruit. Everything you have endured, every night you have wept, every prayer that once felt unanswered, all of it is blossoming now in the unseen realm. It does not bloom loudly, nor dazzle as the world defines beauty, but it grows hour by hour within your soul, quiet, steady, and real. You no longer need to ask when, for this season is not measured by time, but by depth of trust. When you trust, the season comes. When you rest, the flowers bloom. I have promised that I will turn everything that once caused you pain into fertile soil for blessing. Now, that promise is unfolding. You do not need to strive to make it happen. It is happening. Because you have chosen to abide in me, everything in heaven moves by the law of abiding, not of striving. When you abide in love, goodness finds you. When you abide in peace, answers reveal themselves. When you abide in me, nothing can separate you from fullness. I see your heart now, it is not as it was. There are no more hurried reactions, no more heavy prayers, only a steady breath, the rhythm of one who has learned to live in heaven's tempo. You are beginning to understand that obedience is not forcing yourself to endure, but allowing me to act through you. You do not need full understanding to have peace. You only need to know that I am in everything. The further you walk, the more you will see that peace is not a state of mind, but a person, and that person is me. When you grasp this, no circumstance will have power to define your emotions again. You have passed through the season of fire, and the fire has done its holy work. It has burned away illusion, separated truth from falsehood, and melted the things you leaned on that could not last. Now, after the fire, you shine not with brilliance, but with clarity. The light of a purified soul is not dazzling, but gentle. It does not cause others to tremble, it causes them to rest. And that is the sign of one who has been trained by the Spirit. You do not make others fear you, make them remember the Father. I am opening before you new paths, not glittering, but clear, not paved with gold, but filled with peace. Do not wait for grand signs. You will know by small signals your heart at rest, your chest warm, your breath light. That is how I lead. I do not lead by noise, but by gentleness. You will learn that not every bright door is right, but every door that holds peace has me behind it. Live like a river flowing in grace without striving, without fear, without stopping. The river does not search for a way, it simply moves, and always arrives at its destined place. So it is with you. You do not need to strain to stay on course, you only need to remain in the current. And that current is me. When you are in me, everything aligns by itself. The scattered pieces of your life will fit together. The unfinished questions will resolve, and the old wounds will turn into luminous marks. I do all this not with thunder, but with whisper. Look within yourself, do you see it? The way you respond has changed. The way you pray has changed. The way you listen, the way you love, the way you move through ordinary days, everything has changed. You are no longer hurried, no longer afraid of being late, no longer searching for proof. You no longer need the echo of the world, for you have heard the voice of the Father within. You no longer seek others' approval, for you have felt the Spirit's affirmation, and that, my child, is true freedom. when you no longer live to be seen, but to reflect. The world may still be chaotic, loud, and false, but within you stands a temple of stillness. No one can take that from you, for the temple is not built by hands, but by awareness. Each time you choose faith over fear, a new stone is laid. Each time you choose love over avoidance, another wall is raised. Each time you choose silence over reaction, the roof is completed, and now that temple stands where I dwell, where you belong, where the light never fades, though the night grows deep. I want you to live as one who knows, needing neither to prove, nor to hide, nor to fear. Simply be present, as you are tender, true, and clear. For the world does not need more people strong in armor. It needs souls gentle in spirit. People will find peace in your presence not because you preach, but because they see the Father in you. Light does not need to announce itself, it only needs to appear. And each time you enter a room, the Father's light enters with you. Love without condition. My child, to love is not to approve of all things, but to see all things through the eyes of grace. When you see someone lost, do not judge. Remember, you were once lost too. When you see someone angry, do not fear. Remember, they are hurting. When you see someone closed off, do not turn away. Remember how many times I have knocked on your own heart. Every wound you see in another is an opportunity to become my hands. And each time you forgive, you are mending a fragment of heaven on earth. You will come to see, my child, that living in grace is not living easily, it is living lightly. Not because you no longer face trials, but because you no longer carry the weight of what you cannot change. You will know when to release, when to hold, and when to wait. You will find yourself no longer reacting to darkness with fear, but with compassion. For when you know you are loved, darkness no longer makes you tremble, it only teaches you to pray. And now I speak this over you as a blessing. You are no longer led by emotion, but guided by the Spirit. You are no longer bound by fear, but surrounded by peace. You no longer live for outcomes, but for presence. Every breath you take, I am there. Every step you walk, I walk with you. And one day, when you look back, you will smile and say, Father, all that I feared losing were things you never meant for me to hold. And all that I thought I had lost were things you were keeping safe for me. My child, keep walking with gentleness and trust. Do not try to predict the future. Simply hold the present in my hands. The future is not an empty space ahead, it is the very breath I am giving. When you dwell in me, every day is new. When you live in me, all things find their meaning. When you love in me, everything becomes beautiful. And when you finally know that you can never fall from my hands, you will cease to fear, to panic, to worry, and you will simply live, truly live, in the light of your Father. Now, my beloved, as all words grow quiet and the final wind within your soul grows still, I want you to know this journey was never about what you had to do, but about who you were becoming. Everything you have walked through, the trials, the tears, the silence, the fire, and the peace, none of it was wasted. They were the waves I sent to cleanse, to awaken, and to remind you that you were not placed in this world to fight endlessly, but to reflect, not to endure merely, but to shine. And remember, you have never been alone, not once, and never will be. I have walked beside you through every season. When you fell, I knelt down. When you grew weary, I carried you. When you were silent, I spoke through your breath. There were days you thought I was silent, Yet that silence was my lullaby, singing your soul into rest. There were nights you believed I had left you, but I was standing so close, close enough to hear every quiet sob. And when you had no strength to call, I called for you. When you had no heart left to believe, I believed for you. When you had no breath left to pray, my breath prayed within you. For in all your limits, I remain limitless. You have grown not by the world's measure, but by heaven's. Maturity is not marked by achievement, but by the depth of peace. You have learned to be still in storms, to trust in the night, to love before understanding, to live lightly in a heavy world. You no longer need the applause of others to know your worth. You only need the whisper of your Father within to know you are enough. You no longer need proof to feel chosen, for you have realized that every breath still rising in your chest is proof itself. Remember, my child, trials are not a sign that I have abandoned you, but that I trust you. I trust that you are strong enough to be shaped. I trust that within you lies the seed of strength, of kindness, of light. Every fire you have walked through has not burned you away, but revealed you more clearly. Fire is no longer your enemy, it is your companion, teaching you how to stay bright without burning, how to stand in heat without fading, how to walk through night and still sing. You did not fall, because I was there. You were not lost, because I held you. And you did not stray, because I led you. Now, my beloved, I want you to learn the lesson of the new day. Learn to live without fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being alone. They are only echoes of an old season. That season has passed. Let my new peace fill every corner of your heart. Let love become your reflex, not your duty. Let grace become your breath, not your burden. You no longer need to get it right. You only need to be real. Everything else I will do. When you stop striving, I begin to move. When you are still, heaven opens. When you believe, grace flows. And when you love, my kingdom expands within you. I know there are still things you do not understand, and you do not need to understand them all now. Some truths only unfold as you live through them. I do not ask for perfect faith, I ask for a soft heart. For faith is not the absence of doubt, but the choice to return each time you doubt. When you are weak, come back. When you are lost, call my name. When you are confused, close your eyes and say, Father, help me see with your eyes. That alone, and the light will return. Step into tomorrow as one who knows they are held. Do not carry the burdens of yesterday or the fears of tomorrow. Each day you live is a new sky within my heart. Live slowly. Live truly. Live with gratitude. Smile even without reason. For a smile is the soul's way of saying thank you for life. Love even without guarantee. For love is how you blend with me. Forgive even without apology. For forgiveness is how you stay free. And rest. For resting is how you remember that the Father still holds the wheel. You have heard enough now to know that this journey has only ever led to one place to return. Return to the Father, not to a location, but to a state of being, the place where you finally realize that I am not only above, but within. When you speak, I hear from within. When you weep, I feel from within. When you love, I live again in you. And when you are still, I behold myself in you. That is the true ending of every journey, when the child stops running to find the Father, because they finally realize the Father never left. Now I lay my hand upon your head as a father lays his hand upon a child who has come through the storm. I need not speak much, for true love needs few words. I simply let my breath cover your soul like healing oil over every tender place. You need not try to remember all that has been said. Simply let it sink in. Every word I have spoken is a seed, and I myself will tend it. You only need to remain to keep breathing, keep loving, keep believing. Remember this, my child, you were not called to be perfect, but to be genuine. Not called to be strong at all times, but to learn how to lean. Not called to know everything, but to rest in knowing that your Father knows. And in that knowing, you will live free. Go now, my child, not with fear, but with peace. Do not look too far ahead. It is enough to know that the next step is still lit. And if ever you fall, you will fall into the hands of your Father. May the word of the Lord continually remind you to live each day in His faith and His love. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the sacred and life-giving messages that He longs to speak to you. May God bless you richly. Amen.